Millions of dollars. Cutting-edge biometric scanners installed across hundreds of rural clinics. The goal here was incredibly simple: catch lazy government doctors who were skipping work. The result? A complete and total disaster. You see, the technology didn't fix human nature. It actually made human nature more ruthless. Today, we're unpacking a landmark economic study that digs deep into a massive healthcare dataset. We're going to explore exactly how the perfect tech failed and why throwing silicon at a systemic problem is sometimes the absolute worst thing you can do.
The government had a straightforward thesis: install biometric trackers, force medical staff to actually stay at these rural clinics, and public health will naturally improve. But the data revealed a completely wild, anti-common sense mystery. The main victims of this massive surveillance dragnet weren't the truant doctors, they were pregnant mothers. Pregnant women literally fled these high-tech, closely monitored clinics. Now, why on earth would anyone run away from a newly upgraded medical facility? Hold that thought, because we have to look at the bait and switch first.
At first glance, the data generated by the study looked absolutely beautiful, a flawless victory for technological intervention. To prove this, researchers meticulously tracked birth weights in the areas around these newly monitored clinics and compared them against a control group of unmonitored clinics. And the results? Striking. Babies born in the high-tech zones actually weighed 67 grams more on average. Even better, the chance of a dangerous low birth weight dropped by a massive 26%. Infant health was undeniably improving. The baseline metrics were up. Politicians and administrators were ready to pop champagne and declare the whole program a massive triumph.
But wait, here comes the brutal slap in the face. The researchers didn't just stop at birth weights. They dug deeper into the raw clinic logs, and they cross-referenced that biometric data with actual facility delivery numbers. And they found an impossible contradiction. Despite these supposedly healthier babies, the raw number of women actually giving birth inside these high-tech clinics just crashed. It plummeted by nearly 30%. Mothers were vanishing from the public health system entirely, opting to give birth somewhere else. It's the ultimate paradox, right? How do you possibly get better health outcomes when your core demographic of patients is literally running away from you?
Let's dive into Section 1, the first slap: fake hustle.
On paper, the biometric machines did exactly what they were built to do. Fingerprints were logged, timestamps were recorded. The data was uploaded via cellular networks directly to central servers, and when researchers compared this to the control groups, overall staff attendance had skyrocketed by nearly 15%. The data was completely pristine, undeniable. The machines caught the truancy, attendance went up, so tech wins, right? Wrong. This is where we really have to dismantle the illusion of this supposedly successful data and uncover who was actually doing the heavy lifting.
Notice the massive disparity in the data here? This is the ultimate anti-common sense moment of the entire study. The highly paid elite doctors, the very people this system was designed to catch, they completely ignored the multi-million-dollar machines. Their attendance saw a flat 0% increase. The biometric rollout didn't change their behavior at all. But the lower-paid nurses and pharmacists, their attendance shot up by 18%. The elite class remained entirely immune to the surveillance, meaning the entire burden of this massive government KPI fell directly onto the backs of the lowest-tier workers.
Which brings us to Section 2, the dark truth of the escaping mothers.
Here is the brutal logic flow the researchers uncovered, and it explains exactly why those pregnant women were vanishing. Step 1. Nurses are now forced to stay at the clinic all day because the machine is relentlessly watching them. Step 2. They are absolutely furious because the elite doctors are still skipping work with zero consequences. Step 3. The resentment explodes. Without doctors present to handle emergencies or complications, the angry, overworked nurses aggressively push pregnant women away. They literally turn them away at the door and send them to larger or private hospitals. But it goes deeper. Step 4 is the really dark climax here. By aggressively diverting these women, researchers auditing the financial records found that clinic staff could secretly pocket the state maternity cash subsidies that were originally meant for those very mothers. The technology didn't stop the corruption at all. It just mutated it into a more predatory form.
So the biometric devices technically worked perfectly. They recorded crystal clear, unassailable evidence of absent doctors. The truancy was caught red-handed. The pristine data was sitting right there on the government's own servers, totally accessible. But the researchers stepped back and asked the actual million-dollar question. With all this perfect evidence of rule-breaking, did anyone actually get punished?
Section 3. The meta twist. Government complicity. The study mapped out an absolutely broken bureaucratic labyrinth that proves the government wasn't just some helpless victim here. Follow the timeline of how they designed the enforcement. Day 1, the machine uploads the absence with perfect data.
Day 10, a local boss has to manually check it. Day 20, a state director has to physically approve the deduction. Day 30, the finance department completely ignores the request. The researchers found that it took a minimum of a month of impossible, frustrating, deliberate paperwork just to dock a single day of a doctor's pay. The friction was a feature, not a bug. So naturally, nobody bothered to enforce it.
The result was zero consequences. The researchers tracked actual disciplinary actions over the course of the study to see if the data was actually being used. They found that dismissals didn't move at all. Official show cause warning notices barely ticked up, representing a statistically insignificant blip. The multi-million-dollar technological marvel became a very, very expensive paperweight. The flawless data was actively ignored by the exact same government body that demanded its installation in the first place.
Now, why would a state do this? Well, the researchers identified a literal deal with the devil embedded in the labor economics of the region. The unspoken rule in this specific labor market was this: let the doctors skip work, or they will quit and go to the highly lucrative private sector. The government was absolutely terrified of a mass exodus that would leave rural clinics totally empty of licensed physicians, so they valued the political illusion of having doctors on the public payroll over the difficult reality of actually holding them accountable.
Moving to Section 4, tech can't cure human nature.
To build true academic credibility, the researchers compared this specific failure to other similar studies. You see, when nonprofits or NGOs use this exact same biometric technology in randomized control trials, it works beautifully. Why the difference? Because NGOs pair the scanners with strict rules, transparent data, and the actual power to fire people. Real consequences. But drop that exact same flawless technology into a messy political state bureaucracy, it just fuels mutual cover-ups and resentment. A tool is only as strong as the hand that wields it. If the state absolutely refuses to strike, the tool is utterly useless. Which leaves the authors of the study, and honestly us, with one final, provocative thought to reconsider this entire system. The bureaucracy bent over backwards to protect absentee doctors out of fear, but the data clearly showed that the nurses were the ones who actually showed up. When monitored, the nurses were the ones doing the triage, managing the clinics, and actually moving the needle on that 67-gram increase in infant health. So, if we systematically cannot control the doctors, and the technology only successfully works on the lower-tier staff, why are we still obsessing over the doctors at all? Why not just change the paradigm and hire more nurses? Think about that. When we roll out sweeping surveillance, who is the technology actually protecting?